The palace lights were already blazing, the cameras were already waiting, and the world believed it knew exactly who this evening belonged to. But the moment Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped forward beside Prince William, something inside the monarchy appeared to shift in complete silence, and what unfolded next left royal insiders, diplomats, and even longtime observers asking one dangerous question. Was this simply another royal appearance, or was the future of the British monarchy quietly introducing itself before the world even realized what was happening? Inside the glittering halls of Buckingham Palace, every detail had been arranged with military precision, every chandelier reflected centuries of tradition, every carefully placed guest understood the rules of hierarchy, and every camera had been positioned to capture the official authority of King Charles III and Queen Camilla. Yet the moment Catherine, Princess of Wales, entered that room, royal protocol suddenly seemed far less powerful than public perception, because conversations slowed. Diplomats turned, photographers repositioned, and even seasoned palace insiders appeared to freeze for a fraction of a second as Catherine moved through the hall with the calm authority many believe belongs only to a future queen. What made this moment even more fascinating was not simply the elegance of Catherine, Princess of Wales, not simply the confidence beside Prince William, and not even the historic symbolism attached to everything Catherine wore that evening. It was the reaction. Cameras that were supposed to follow Queen Camilla began drifting elsewhere. Conversations that were meant to center around the current leadership suddenly shifted toward the next generation. And within minutes, royal watchers across the world began asking whether Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, had quietly become the emotional center of the monarchy long before the official succession ever begins. And here is where everything becomes even more interesting, because royal power has never lived entirely in titles, crowns, or ceremonies. Royal power lives in attention, in perception, in that invisible energy that makes an entire room stop breathing for a moment. And on this particular night, Catherine, Princess of Wales, seemed to control that energy effortlessly while Prince William, the future king, stood beside Catherine with the quiet confidence of someone who may already know exactly where history is heading. But let me ask you something. If you walked into that room, if you saw the reactions, if you watched the cameras, if you felt the silence, would you have looked toward the crown, or would your eyes have followed the future? Tell us in the comments, because what happened next only made royal insiders even more uncomfortable. As the evening continued, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were not physically present, yet their shadow remained impossible to ignore, because every discussion about the future of the royal family now carries the weight of division, departure, loyalty, and succession. And palace insiders reportedly understand that every public appearance by Prince William and Catherine is now being measured against everything the monarchy has endured over the past several years. What once looked like a family disagreement now increasingly looks like a battle for institutional survival, public trust, and global relevance. Meanwhile, King Charles III appeared composed, Queen Camilla maintained the expected smile, and the official structure of the monarchy remained intact. But observers began noticing something far more subtle, because Catherine, Princess of Wales, was not moving like someone simply attending a banquet. Catherine was moving like someone completely at home inside the future of royal leadership, greeting diplomats, connecting with world leaders, and carrying the kind of calm that reminds many royal historians of both Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth II. And if that comparison sounds dramatic, what happened next made those whispers even louder, because by the end of the evening, palace insiders were no longer asking whether Catherine, Princess of Wales, was ready for the future. Palace insiders were asking whether the future had already quietly begun. But before we uncover what King Charles III may be signaling behind palace doors, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us, because what Prince William discovered later that night may completely change how you see the royal family forever. What happened after that unforgettable entrance did not unfold with dramatic announcements, public speeches, or any official declaration from King Charles III, because inside the British monarchy, the most powerful shifts are rarely spoken aloud. Instead, those shifts reveal themselves through positioning, body language, access, and symbolism, and according to royal observers, what happened during the next phase of that evening made one thing impossible to ignore. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was no longer being treated like a royal who was preparing for the future. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was beginning to look like a royal who had already stepped into it. As diplomats moved through the banquet hall, as senior advisors quietly observed from a distance, and as international media continued capturing every angle, something unusual began drawing attention from palace insiders who have spent decades studying the silent language of royal hierarchy. Because wherever Catherine, Princess of Wales, walked, cameras followed, conversations paused, and distinguished guests appeared increasingly eager to engage with Catherine before approaching almost anyone else in the room. including royals who technically outranked Catherine within the official structure of the monarchy. And inside an institution built entirely around order, symbolism, and carefully managed perception, that kind of organic shift never goes unnoticed. What made the atmosphere even more fascinating was the visible presence of Prince William, the future king, who stood beside Catherine, Princess of Wales, with a level of calm confidence that many royal analysts interpreted as deeply significant. Because Prince William did not appear surprised by the overwhelming public reaction, Prince William did not appear protective, uncomfortable, or uncertain. Instead, Prince William looked entirely comfortable watching Catherine command global attention. Almost as if Prince William already understood that the strength of the next monarchy may depend just as much on Catherine's public connection as on Prince William's future crown. And that raises an important question for you. If public trust increasingly shapes the future of institutions, if admiration becomes as powerful as official rank, and if emotional connection becomes stronger than tradition alone, then who truly holds the greater influence inside a modern monarchy? Is it the person wearing the crown today, or the person the public already sees wearing it tomorrow? Tell us what you think in the comments, because what happened next only intensified those questions. As the evening progressed, royal commentators began focusing on something far more subtle than fashion, jewelry, or diplomatic protocol. They began focusing on positioning. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was repeatedly seen standing beside world leaders, greeting distinguished international guests, and engaging with foreign diplomats in positions that many observers described as unusually central, unusually visible, and unusually symbolic. In royal circles, placement is never random, and every step inside rooms like these carries meaning that often speaks louder than official announcements. That is why many royal analysts began asking whether King Charles III himself may already be quietly expanding Catherine's role within the monarchy long before the public fully realizes what is unfolding. At the same time, the shadow of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry remained impossible to ignore, because every conversation about succession, stability, and the future of the royal family inevitably circles back to the division that reshaped public perception of the monarchy itself. Reports suggest palace insiders understand that the departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle created not only emotional fractures inside the institution, but also a leadership vacuum that increasingly appears to be filled by Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, with remarkable discipline, consistency, and strategic public trust. And this is where everything becomes even more complicated, because while Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue building an independent global identity beyond palace walls, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, appear to be doing something equally powerful from within, rebuilding the emotional authority of the monarchy one carefully measured appearance at a time. No explosive interviews, no public conflict, no emotional statements. Only visibility, consistency, composure, and a growing belief among royal supporters that Prince William and Catherine represent the institution's safest path forward. But perhaps the most fascinating reaction came not from the cameras, not from the public, and not even from international media. It came from senior royals themselves. Multiple observers reportedly noticed subtle expressions, prolonged glances, and moments of visible attention directed toward Catherine, Princess of Wales, throughout the evening, as though members of the royal court themselves were beginning to acknowledge a reality that the public may have recognized much earlier. That Catherine's influence may now extend far beyond fashion, ceremony, or symbolic appearances. Catherine may be shaping how the monarchy is emotionally experienced by an entirely new generation. And let me ask you something even bigger. If Prince William becomes king sooner than expected, if Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues building this level of public admiration, and if King Charles III quietly continues granting greater visibility and symbolic authority, could the next royal era already be forming behind closed palace doors while the world remains focused on headlines instead of history? Because what happened later that night made those whispers even louder, and according to some royal commentators, the next signal did not come through speeches, ceremonies, or titles. It came through something the monarchy has always understood better than anyone else: legacy. So if you're enjoying this deep dive into the hidden dynamics of the royal family, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us. Because in the next chapter, we uncover why Catherine, Princess of Wales, is now being compared not only to Princess Diana, but increasingly to the woman who defined an entire era of royal power. By the time the cameras stopped flashing and the final diplomatic conversations began fading into the marble corridors of Buckingham Palace, one conversation had already started spreading far beyond palace walls, and it was not about titles, protocol, or even succession. It was about legacy, because a growing number of royal watchers, historians, and longtime supporters of the British monarchy were beginning to ask a question that once would have seemed almost impossible. Was Catherine, Princess of Wales beginning to carry not just the image of a future queen, but the emotional weight of two of the most powerful women the monarchy has ever known? That question did not appear overnight, and that question did not begin with one banquet, one gown, or one carefully photographed entrance, because the comparison surrounding Catherine, Princess of Wales, has been quietly building for years, slowly gaining strength with every public appearance beside Prince William, with every hospital visit, with every diplomatic engagement, and with every moment where Catherine appeared to command global attention without ever appearing to chase it. And, according to royal analysts, that exact combination is what made both Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth II unforgettable in completely different ways. Princess Diana captured hearts through emotional connection, vulnerability, and the ability to make ordinary people feel seen, while Queen Elizabeth II commanded respect through consistency, discipline, and an almost unshakable sense of institutional duty. Yet what many observers now find so fascinating about Catherine, Princess of Wales, is the growing belief that Catherine may somehow be blending both legacies into something uniquely modern, something far more strategic, and perhaps something the monarchy desperately needs in an era defined by social media, global scrutiny, and relentless public comparison. And let me ask you something. If one royal can carry the warmth of Princess Diana, the discipline of Queen Elizabeth II, and the future beside Prince William, the future king, does that create admiration, or does that quietly create power? Tell us in the comments, because what happened next only made those comparisons even harder to ignore. As royal footage from recent state appearances began circulating online, viewers across the world started noticing patterns that seemed almost impossible to dismiss. Whether Catherine, Princess of Wales, was greeting children at a public engagement, standing beside international leaders at diplomatic ceremonies, or walking through royal estates with Prince William, the future king, the reaction was remarkably consistent. Crowds leaned forward, cameras shifted, social media erupted, and headlines increasingly centered not around the current leadership of the monarchy, but around the next generation. In a system built on continuity, that kind of organic public focus can become one of the strongest indicators of where emotional loyalty is truly heading. At the same time, King Charles III appeared increasingly willing to place Catherine, Princess of Wales, in positions of growing symbolic significance, and while no formal announcement has suggested any dramatic restructuring of royal responsibilities, royal commentators have repeatedly pointed toward Catherine's access to historically significant jewels, diplomatic visibility, and increasingly central placement at major state occasions as evidence that something much deeper may be unfolding behind palace walls. Reports suggest senior advisors understand that public confidence in the future monarchy may depend heavily on the credibility, discipline, and emotional trust built by Prince William and Catherine together. But this is where the story becomes even more sensitive, because every rise inside the monarchy naturally creates comparisons elsewhere, and nowhere has that contrast become more visible than in conversations surrounding Queen Camilla. While Queen Camilla officially holds the title beside King Charles III, many royal watchers openly admit that public fascination often appears to gravitate elsewhere, and that reality has fueled endless speculation about how emotional influence inside a modern monarchy may no longer follow traditional rank as predictably as it once did. What once seemed unthinkable now appears increasingly visible. The crown may represent institutional authority, but public attention may be quietly shaping a different hierarchy altogether. And beyond palace walls, the continued visibility of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry only adds another layer of complexity to the evolving royal narrative, because while Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue building an identity rooted in independence, media influence, and global advocacy, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, appear to be building something equally powerful through an entirely different strategy: silence, consistency, tradition, and carefully earned trust. And in today's media landscape, where attention often rewards controversy, that kind of disciplined restraint can become even more powerful than visibility itself. But perhaps the most striking comparison emerged during recent public events where royal commentators began openly describing Catherine, Princess of Wales, not simply as popular, not simply as elegant, and not simply as prepared, but as inevitable. That word began appearing more frequently across commentary panels, royal forums, and international headlines, because to many observers, Catherine no longer looks like someone waiting for history. Catherine looks like someone history may already be preparing to recognize. So here is the question no one inside the palace may be willing to answer publicly. If Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues building this level of emotional trust, if Prince William, the future king, continues strengthening public confidence, and if King Charles III continues quietly elevating their visibility, has the monarchy already chosen its emotional center long before official succession ever begins? Because what happened after these comparisons reached palace insiders reportedly created an entirely new wave of speculation, and according to some royal analysts, the next signal did not come from speeches, interviews, or public appearances. The next signal came from something even more powerful inside royal history: access. So if you're enjoying this deep royal investigation, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us. Because in the next chapter, we uncover the quiet privileges, historic symbols, and hidden decisions that may reveal exactly where King Charles III believes the future of the royal family is truly heading. By now, the public had already noticed the elegance, the composure, and the undeniable magnetism surrounding Catherine, Princess of Wales. But according to royal commentators, the most revealing signs of Catherine's rise were never found in headlines, applause, or viral photographs. The most revealing signs were hidden in access, because inside the British monarchy, access has always meant far more than visibility, far more than ceremony, and far more than public affection. And when access begins to change, history often begins changing with it. Royal historians often say that within palace walls, power is rarely announced with words, because power inside the monarchy is communicated through rooms, through invitations, through positioning, through responsibilities, and perhaps most importantly, through what is quietly entrusted to certain members of the royal family while others continue waiting. That is why palace watchers began paying close attention to the growing number of high-level engagements involving Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince William, the future king, because what appeared ceremonial on the surface increasingly looked strategic underneath. At state dinners, diplomatic receptions, military ceremonies, and meetings involving international dignitaries, Catherine, Princess of Wales, was no longer simply appearing as a supportive spouse beside Prince William. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was increasingly positioned as a central representative of institutional continuity, often standing beside world leaders, greeting foreign officials, and appearing in locations that historically carried enormous symbolic weight. And in a monarchy where every photograph is studied, every seating arrangement is reviewed, and every placement is intentional, those repeated patterns were impossible for palace insiders to ignore. But here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. Because reports suggest that some of the strongest signals may not have come through public appearances at all, but through Catherine's growing access to royal assets deeply connected to institutional trust. Historic jewelry once associated with Queen Elizabeth II, ceremonial pieces tied to the emotional legacy of Princess Diana, and symbolic traditions that are rarely shared without deliberate consideration have increasingly become part of Catherine's public image, and according to royal analysts, that level of symbolic access rarely happens by accident. And let me ask you something. If a monarchy built on centuries of ritual quietly begins placing one royal figure closer to its most powerful symbols, closer to its most emotionally significant traditions, and closer to its most visible diplomatic moments, would you call that coincidence, careful preparation, or a silent announcement of what comes next? Tell us your thoughts in the comments, because what happened next only deepened the speculation. As King Charles III continued shaping the early years of a new reign, observers began noticing another pattern that many royal commentators found impossible to ignore. While King Charles III maintained the expected authority of a reigning monarch, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, increasingly appeared to be carrying much of the emotional weight of the institution in public spaces, whether through hospital visits, charity initiatives, diplomatic appearances, or national ceremonies. Reports suggest palace insiders increasingly view Prince William and Catherine not simply as the next generation, but as the stabilizing force the monarchy may need most in an era of public scrutiny and institutional uncertainty. And that uncertainty became even more visible when conversations inevitably turned toward Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, because no discussion about succession, stability, or royal identity can fully escape the impact of the Sussex departure. While Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue building an independent platform shaped by global media, public advocacy, and personal storytelling, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, appear to be moving in the exact opposite direction. Deeper into tradition, deeper into institutional service, and deeper into the symbolism of continuity. And for many royal supporters, that contrast may be defining the emotional direction of the monarchy more than any formal statement ever could. But perhaps the most sensitive contrast has emerged around Queen Camilla. While Queen Camilla officially stands beside King Charles III and carries the authority of the crown, public conversations often continue circling back toward Catherine, Princess of Wales, not because of rank, not because of official titles, but because of emotional resonance. Cameras linger longer, headlines travel faster, social conversations grow louder, and international audiences repeatedly return to the same question. Is Catherine already becoming the face of the monarchy before Catherine officially becomes queen? And according to some royal commentators, one of the most revealing moments came during private diplomatic receptions where Catherine, Princess of Wales, reportedly appeared completely at ease while interacting with world leaders, cultural ambassadors, and senior international representatives, carrying the kind of quiet confidence that many historians once associated with Queen Elizabeth II during the height of the late monarch's diplomatic influence. That comparison alone has sent waves through royal circles, because if public admiration can evolve into institutional expectation, then Catherine may no longer be seen as a promising royal figure. Catherine may be seen as a necessary one. So let me ask you another important question. If Prince William, the future king, already commands respect, if Catherine, Princess of Wales, already commands emotional loyalty, and if King Charles III continues granting both visibility and symbolic trust, has the palace quietly started preparing the public not for someday, but for sooner than anyone expected? Because what happened next may be the most politically sensitive development of all, and according to growing speculation inside royal circles, the next signal was not about jewels, appearances, or diplomacy. The next signal may involve influence behind closed doors, private consultations, and conversations that never reach the cameras. So if you're enjoying this deep dive into the hidden power structure of the royal family, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us. Because in the final chapter, we uncover the private whispers, the silent strategic moves, and the moment some insiders believe Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, stopped looking like the future and started looking like the present. By this point, the public had already seen the photographs, the diplomatic appearances, the carefully studied body language, and the growing symbolism surrounding Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince William. But according to royal commentators, the most powerful shift may not have happened in front of the cameras at all. Because inside the British monarchy, the most important decisions are often made far from banquet halls, far from public ceremonies, and far from headlines, in private consultations, strategic conversations, and carefully protected rooms where the future of the institution is quietly shaped long before the public is ever invited to notice. And this is where the story becomes impossible to ignore, because over the past several months, reports suggest palace insiders have observed something subtle yet deeply significant. King Charles III appears increasingly willing to place Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, closer to the emotional and operational center of the monarchy than many expected this early in the reign. No public announcement has confirmed any dramatic shift, no official statement has declared a transfer of influence, and no royal spokesperson has openly addressed these growing whispers. Yet for those who understand royal protocol, the signals appear to be accumulating too consistently to dismiss. Private meetings, expanded diplomatic visibility, greater symbolic access, and increasingly strategic public placement have created a wave of speculation that continues spreading across royal circles. And many observers now believe Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, may already be involved in shaping decisions that extend far beyond ceremonial appearances. If those reports hold even partial truth, then what the public sees on camera may represent only a fraction of what is actually happening behind palace doors. And let me ask you something. If the next generation of the monarchy is already being trusted with greater influence, if Prince William already carries the authority of a future king, and if Catherine, Princess of Wales, already carries the emotional loyalty of millions around the world, then has succession quietly begun long before the crown officially changes hands? Tell us what you think in the comments, because the next layer of this story may be the most revealing of all. As conversations around succession continue growing, the contrast between Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales on one side, and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on the other has become impossible for the public to ignore. While Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue building an identity defined by independence, media visibility, and global influence beyond palace walls, Prince William and Catherine continue building something entirely different from within: consistency, restraint, tradition, and institutional trust. And in an era where public attention often rewards disruption, that quieter strategy may be proving far more powerful than anyone initially expected. At the same time, the evolving public role of Queen Camilla continues, adding another layer of complexity to the monarchy's internal narrative. Queen Camilla officially holds one of the highest positions inside the institution, yet public fascination repeatedly appears to return toward Catherine, Princess of Wales, not because of formal rank, but because of emotional connection, symbolic continuity, and the growing belief that Catherine represents something people instinctively trust about the monarchy's future. That perception, whether intentional or entirely organic, may be shaping public expectations far more quickly than palace officials ever anticipated. And perhaps the most remarkable part of this entire transformation is how naturally it appears to be unfolding. Prince William, the future king, has not delivered dramatic speeches declaring a new royal era. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has not sought headlines through controversy or public declarations. Instead, Prince William and Catherine have built influence through discipline, presence, service, and consistency. The very qualities that once defined Queen Elizabeth II at the height of the late monarch's authority. That comparison alone has caused many royal historians to quietly ask whether the monarchy is not simply preparing for the future, but carefully rebuilding its strongest foundations through the next generation. So here is the final question. If Prince William, the future king, continues strengthening public confidence, if Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues commanding emotional loyalty, if King Charles III continues granting symbolic trust, and if public perception continues moving faster than official titles, then are we watching the future of the monarchy, or are we already living through the beginning of it? Because one thing appears increasingly difficult to deny. The cameras may still focus on today, the headlines may still report on current titles, and official protocol may still follow established hierarchy. But in the eyes of millions, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, may no longer represent what comes next. Prince William and Catherine may already represent what comes now. And now we want to hear from you. Do you believe Catherine, Princess of Wales, has already become the true emotional center of the royal family, or do you think the palace still has major surprises ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your perspective matters. And if you enjoyed this deep investigation into the hidden power shifts, royal symbolism, and the future of the monarchy, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for the next royal story. Because inside the palace, silence often says far more than words ever could.